Hello all, and welcome to the Home Occupation Occupational Therapy Alliance meeting, HMOTA. And we've got a special meeting tonight with Todd Bick from Harmar. He's going to be going over stairlift evaluations and the different products they have. They're going to be giving all of our HMOTA members exceptionally great deals on stairlifts.
Okay, well, good evening, everybody. I promise to be brief. I only have about 200 slides. No, just kidding. I was impressed to see how many people are on the line and, from all over the country. So I was jotting down some of the names and things. So impressive group. And so far, my interactions with Karen and Adam have been, very positive and encouraging. And, I think as a manufacturer of, stair lifts, both straight and curved lifts, vehicle lift products, porch lifts, and as well as ramp systems. We think there's a huge opportunity in this marketplace, and there's great coordination and communication between the OTs as well as the manufacturers and the dealerships throughout the country. So I have a couple things I just wanted to kind of go through, just a little bit about Harmar in general, so you can appreciate, who we are and where we came from, and kind of get into the meat of the presentation. Okay, so Harmar just celebrated its 20-year anniversary. Essentially, we are a Florida-based company, so our headquarters is in Sarasota, Florida. We also have an accessibility factory out in Lake Winnebago, Missouri. So, Brandy, Archie, I think you mentioned you're from Kansas City. Sounds like we may be neighbors out there, but we're actually manufacturing those products, in the United States at both of our factories. A little over 200 team members on Team Harmar, and we are currently the leading provider of vehicle lift products in the country, as well as one of the largest providers of equipment to the government. We do have a federal contract with the Veterans Administration that is very significant, and it allows us and affords us the opportunity to serve veterans and people in the community. So we're excited to continue doing that for many years. These are our two factories. Our facility in Florida, those are palm trees for those of you that are in cold weather states. But essentially, we are manufacturing all vehicle lift products and curved stair lift rails in our Sarasota, Florida factory. It's also our headquarters with all sales and engineering and our training centers there as well. In Missouri, we're doing all of the straight stair lifts, vertical platform lifts, inclines, as well as the chassis for our curved stair lifts. So two great factories, and obviously we continue to pump out lots and lots of product every year. I don't know if anybody knows how large our industry is, but there's 10,000 people a day turning 65, so it's incredibly fast growing. Our industry is growing at a rate of 5 to 7% year over year. We see just as many new dealerships and opportunities come into the market each year. It's impressive. There's really no other industry that has that kind of growth initiative going on right now. There's also a tremendous amount of private equity money that comes into the industry. Obviously, with the medical background of the products that we do, basically being a Class 2 medical device, there's a lot of interest. So what happens is a lot of these larger companies continue to grow large and expand and consolidate. And so some of you may have already seen that affect some of the larger companies in the industry coming into certain markets that you may be operating in. It's really how this relationship got started. Harmar began working with one of the largest wheelchair providers in our industry, and they had formed some relationships with some occupational therapists, and those occupational therapists were, running small little private practices in their hometowns, very successful, and they would basically be paid money to, create the reports of the home evaluation, and they would pass those off to the end user, who would then take their prescription and then go visit a dealership to, figure out how to take the next steps. A lot of times what we found out was that that process was very delayed because there wasn't that link between the report that was generated and the dealer that could provide the product to them. And so this one company that we were working with decided to figure out how to put it all together, and they actually started forming some partnerships and relationships with OTs throughout the country. And essentially what happened is the OT would do the evaluation, and then based on their evaluation, had the ability to recommend product to the specific individual, and basically work through their purchasing departments to procure material that they may not have been able to get before. So that relationship started working very, very well, and across many states we saw huge increases in opportunities because the OTs were creating them from their private practice and then working with the companies hand in hand to identify how to get product into that client's hands instead of just passing them off and letting them go find things on their own. So it really completed the loop for us. And Harmar, as we started to watch this thing evolve, identified some really key ways that we can help make that process very smooth and easy. So I'm not going to bore you with all the history, but I just wanted to kind of show you guys, obviously being a USA manufacturer, nearly every year, every other year, we have been introducing major products into the marketplace. Basically, our goal was, one major new product launch every single year, and that's a tremendous time investment and financial investment to be able to put the resources behind these major projects and things. When we launched our SL300 Stairlift in 2017, we had some lofty goals, but we had no idea that it was going to take off as strong as it had taken off, and it's quickly catapulted us. We believe into the #2 position of stairlifts, selling into the marketplace. #1 being the Acorn product line. For those of you that may be aware of Acorn from their significant marketing and online, or television campaigns, they are the leading provider of stairlifts in the world, and Harmar being a dealer direct type model, we feel we have that top spot for the dealer channel. So we're excited that we've been able to launch new products every year. Last year we had acquired one of our competitors. So for those of you that were familiar with Pride Mobility, they had a lift and ramp division, and Harmar acquired them in December of 2018, and we've been kind of integrating them into our business and working with them and their customers and dealerships throughout the country. So it's been exciting. And then slated for this year, we have 2 major projects that are being launched. First in July, a 450-pound heavy-duty outside vehicle lift, first of its kind on the market, as well as in September, a brand new vertical platform series coming out to the market for porch lifts, both residential and commercial. So we're excited that we continue the trend of being able to bring new products into the marketplace, be innovative, and continue moving on. One of the big things that we've found has been a major differentiator for us is when we look at ourselves against the competition and what the market needs. We obviously identified some of our core values that we felt were very significant. So we went through this entire process of not necessarily weeding out, but essentially working with each of our employees to make sure that they all had a significant step in the right direction for all of our core values that are listed here. And one of the things that we found was, companies work with companies that they share values with, and they appreciate the same type of work ethic. So obviously being a team player, getting stuff done, having the right positive attitude, actually caring about the client, right? We all say we care, but do you actually care at the end of the day to make sure that client gets the right products that they need? And then obviously doing the right thing. So sometimes even at a financial loss, it's important to make sure that the end user always has the best experience, and the manufacturers and the dealerships are always doing the right thing. If you hadn't heard about Harmar in the past, I think you would, all our dealerships that we work with would say that we're easy to work with. We have the largest set of solutions, across all the different product categories, and then because of our VA contract, we have the largest national installation network, and that's really where our 2 organizations kind of come together. It's with our Lift Squad program, and I'll go into great detail on this because I think this is the meat and potatoes of kind of what you wanted to hear today. But overall, as I mentioned, Harmar, we cut our teeth in the mobility product line. So we have over 14 different models of vehicle lifts, and these have served transportation of wheelchairs and scooters and powered wheelchairs, and in various shapes and forms and sizes, both inside and outside of the vehicle. We have weight capacities that go up to 450 pounds, and we pride ourselves in being able to continue to navigate the marketplace. So for those of you that our numbers people. You know, Harmar has lots and of vehicles that we've measured over the years and powered wheelchairs. But could anybody guess how many possible combinations of scooters, manual wheelchairs, and vehicle lifts that Harmar maintains in its calculator database? Any guesses? Well, let me give you the number. It's
100.
So Harmar maintains every year, make, and model vehicle all the way back to 1983. Okay, and if you can imagine every possible power chair, scooter, and manual wheelchair on the marketplace, that basically equates to 8 million possible combinations of applications for your clients. Harmar manages that on a daily, weekly, monthly basis. We've got several engineers dedicated to keeping up to date on all the measurements and the fits. Every time the manufacturers change something, we have to know what it is and how big of a change it is. And we update our tools. We update our tools so that, when you guys are out in the field and you need immediate answers and questions answered, those tools are available to you while you're in the field, so that you can get, quick answers on what works and what doesn't work. Harmar has a complete line of accessibility products. So as listed here, we do both straight and curve rail stair lifts. We do vertical platform lifts, otherwise known as porch lifts. We also do incline platform lifts. We are a full-fledged ramp manufacturer, servicing both or all three categories: rubber threshold ramps, aluminum, portable suitcase ramps, as well as full-fledged modular aluminum ramps too. We do also sell some dumb waiters and cargo lifts for things like laundry service and getting supplies to a second or third floor. And we have an entire line of pool lifts as well for hydrotherapy or just clients that want to use recreational or have recreational use of their pools. In addition to HMOTA, Harmar has many other affiliations that we work with, including some charities and obviously the Veterans Administration and different Wounded Warrior projects, Special Olympics. We're members of NAMITA. We're members of the National Association of Elevator Contractors. We get very involved with other OTs that do certified driver rehabilitation specialists. So we're very involved in the community. We're involved in a lot of the trade organizations. Myself and my entire team, we went out and got CAP certified. So, we can bring that different perspective to, our dealerships and people in the industry, just how to approach home evaluations and things. So we get very involved in those things. We feel it's very important to be able to understand what your client's needs are. And we do that by jumping, feet first into it. So while we're here today, as occupational therapists, many of you own your own businesses. Many of you have thriving networks already in your respective markets, but most of you on the line didn't have any supply of product. You didn't have any channel, and that's typically because manufacturers, in our industry today, they're sell direct to the end consumer, and they handle all that for you, or they sell through dealerships. And Harmar has primarily been a dealership model. And what we've seen over the last couple of years is that there's this tremendous push towards making sure that the product is installed safely and correctly, and that whoever is doing the installation has been factory trained and certified. They have all the right levels of insurance. The Veterans Administration is very concerned with who's going out to the home. Have they had criminal background checks? Do they understand that many of our nation's heroes have had lots of trauma and horrific challenges that they've faced, and they don't need any other drama brought into their lives? And so Harmar has really put together a very robust network of over 2,000 essentially certified and factory trained installers throughout the country. These dealerships, if you will, support Harmar's VA contract, and we do it in a couple different ways. First off, it's a fixed rate contract, which means that what it costs to install a stair lift in Maine is the same price to install in Atlanta, Georgia. It's the same price to install in San Diego, California, and it's the same price to install in Helena, Montana. Having a fixed rate contract has been the most significant part of it, where we can basically say this is the price of a stair lift fully installed and delivered, and on top of it, we're so confident that our network is so robust that we'll include an additional 1-year labor warranty on top of the parts warranty. And so, that's been pretty significant because, as time goes on, a lot of times, many of you with your respective businesses, you have to find other installers in the area. You probably get referrals all the time, and we hear from many people like you that you're just referring business, and that very rarely comes back to you, whether that's with goodwill or good fortune or financial. And so, watching what these other companies started to do and seeing that they were able to financially compensate for call it a lead generation program, if you will, it began to change the game for some of these smaller occupational therapists running their own businesses. And so we felt that with the Lift Squad in our background, Harmar would have a great opportunity to be able to coordinate and work directly with HMOTA and HMOTA's members to be able to not only do the recommendations, but actually carry that end user through the next steps of the evolution of securing the product. Being able to recommend a product that meets the needs of that client, and then having access to help that client get that equipment. They've already built the trust, and they believe in you as the OT that's providing the service. And now it's just one additional step to be able to get that product in their hands, and then quite honestly make sure it's installed promptly, safely, and accurately using Harmar's Lift Squad network. So as you can see here, it's over 2,000 factory trained and certified installers throughout the country. We cover just about 95% of the entire country, where most of the major populated areas are. And based on that, we you can imagine the Northeast is a very significant part of where stair lifts and porch lifts play. And then obviously California, Texas, and Florida are major areas for vehicle lift products and ramp products and things of that nature. So being able to have factory trained and certified installers throughout the country that can install any of our 4 product categories is a pretty powerful thing, because now basically whatever product you feel is the right fit for your client, you can now have access to it through Harmar and through our arrangements with HMOTA. And then obviously have the confidence that there's a Lift Squad installer just a short distance from your client's home. I won't bore you with all the process details, but I think the most important thing in this quick layout here is essentially, as the product selection occurs at the top, it then goes into our enterprise type system, where Harmar is basically, confirming, making sure that everything is flowing correctly. We're following up on any licenses and permits and any additional travel fees. We're working directly with the installer to pay them and issue purchase orders, so that they know exactly what they're installing, where they're installing, and how they're installing. We basically set all the expectations. We confirm appointments within 48 hours. We're installing typically within 10 business days of the product, being shipped. And then we're tracking it and managing it along the way, including pictures, sign-offs from the end user themselves, training, all the warranty forms and surveys, and then essentially coming back to the party that placed the order with a nice package nipped in a bow, saying, hey, look, your client located at this address had this product installed. Here's the serial numbers. Here's all the pictures. Everything is done and confirmed. We have their signature stating they were trained, satisfied, and happy. And go ahead and close out your file. And this process has been time tested over the last 7-8 years with Harmar. We're servicing over 1,000 veterans a month using this exact same process. It's been very favorable, very fast, very efficient, and it's one of the reasons that Harmar is the leading provider of the 4 types of equipment to the government, because this process flows very, very well. We've at any given time have about 27 people that are on the inside managing all the different pieces and parts that it takes to get a product built, shipped, and installed. Our Lift Squad, just a couple overviews here. There's a little over 1,400 techs in the network. Some of them share multiple locations and things, but basically the average is about one or two. Most of them do travel. So, when you get into home products, obviously you have to be able to go out to the client's home. And so, the greater majority of our network does in fact travel. The ones that don't typically only do installations for vehicle products. Most of our network travels a median of 50 miles radius from their place of business, so they cover a pretty decent range. And as I said, we're averaging a little right around 1,000 installations. Is that right? Yeah, about 1,000 installations a month, give or take, so a little bit more there. And it's significant because as we continue to get more and more non-veteran business, that's where we believe the lion's share is. So the veteran population obviously has been driving most of this, but it's significant how that business has kind of equilibrized or showed some equilibrium on our side. That it's not just all weighted toward the veterans and the government. It's really been picking up from the dealer networks, and we're seeing that quickly come to light. We track all kinds of metrics on our installers, do they have the capability to store product? Are they subcontracting? Can they pour concrete? Can they do their own electrical? Are they subcontracting it out? Do they install certain types of products? Are they cutting track on site, or do they cut it from their facilities? So we're tracking, all different kinds of metrics. These are just a couple I picked out, so you can rest assured that Harmar's network is, pretty robust, and we make sure that, in the right areas, we have the necessary people and the tools to be able to get the jobs done. I can kind of pause here and open it up to any questions. Does anybody have any questions so far? I have a couple more things to go through, but I know I'm talking kind of fast, but if anybody has any questions, feel free.
I have a question. I don't know if this is too early.
Okay, go for it.
Well, I live in Northwest Indiana, so we get a lot of lake effect snow. So I was curious how the stair lifts and the platform lifts do with the cold temperatures that we get. Because I mean, this past winter we got like -50 with the wind chill factor.
Yeah, it's a great question. I will tell you that because stair lifts and porch lifts are essentially Class 2 medical devices, they fall under the government of the FDA. The FDA has incredibly rigid and regimented, testing programs and parameters that you have to meet. So all of our products that are, obviously they're built for outdoor. They do meet all the outdoor specifications. When you get down to the -50s, it's no fun for anybody. Most of our clients are not going out in those temperatures anyway.
Right.
But in those emergency cases, the product has to work. So, we constantly are challenged with, making sure that our products are, not only tested in the extreme heat, but obviously the extreme cold, and putting our electronics, our harnesses, our PC boards, putting all of them through, very specific testing, accelerated lifestyle testing, cold weather testing and things. So yes, to answer your question, we've got pretty regimented testing programs to make sure that, an outdoor rated product that, has to operate in -40 is going to operate in -40.
Thank you so much.
Mm-hmm. Okay, great question. Any others? Otherwise, I can keep going.
I have a quick question.
Sure, Aaron, go ahead.
Can you hear me? I'm in the New England area and in Boston actually specifically. And do you find that, with the chairlifts, because, we have these narrow old colonials and staircases and things like that, do you find that, is it a lot trickier to sort of find narrow and accommodating chairlifts? I'm picturing inside home ones.
Yeah, so it's a great question, and obviously staircases are first and foremost. They're the width of the staircase is probably the most important. I will tell you that you happen to be talking to the company that has the narrowest stairlift profile in the market. So
good to know.
When it's completely folded, Harmar's stairlift folds to 10.5 inches off the wall. Most of the stairlifts on the market are anywhere from 12 to 13 inches off the wall. And so, every inch counts when it comes down to it, and especially in the homes in New England and the Northeast, we do find that, a lot of those buildings are very tight. A lot of it does depend on the client. So, as OT, you can appreciate that, the back to front of the knee dimension is pretty important for most of our clients. So,
Right.
if I have a stair lift and it's going to take up 10.5 inches fully folded, there's obviously some additional space left over, maybe 24 inches left on the staircase. But when the client is sitting in that chair, he may take up, a good bit of that, extra space there. So you always have to make sure that as the client is seated, 90 degrees from the staircase, that, it's comfortable.
Right. Oh, perfect. Thank you very much.
Okay. So the arrangement that Karen and I kind of chatted about was, essentially a way for the members of HMOTA to be able to take their client, through the process and bring it all the way to completion. So, for those of you that had the desire or interest, being able to, identify a need for a product, walk through some features and benefits and what they could do, and then, zero in on a potential model or two that would best work for their needs. And then obviously be able to procure that equipment for them. We felt that was going to be the most favorable. It is far more than a financial incentive for the members. What we found was, the more people that we were speaking with, a lot of times their work ended when they wrote their report. So whether it was for an insurance company or a funding source, basically as the home evaluation was completed, their work was essentially done and they were off to the races on the next one. And, for the clients that really didn't know where to go next, they had already made a relationship with you. And this was a great way for you to be able to kind of carry it over the goal line and say, hey, you know what? I work with these products. They've, done me well, and they're, have a great reputation. They're made in the United States. And, if you'd like, I can certainly go down the road of, getting you some pricing and, helping you get this product that you need. And, you're still putting the decision back in the client's hands, but you now have the mechanism through HMOTA to be able to offer that product to them. And then obviously leverage Harmar's Lift Squad to be able to navigate, and get the product installed. So, your comfort level is satisfied because it's getting installed by somebody who has the proper levels of insurance, somebody who is servicing veterans, somebody who, understands and has a code of conduct, and, it's a fixed rate contract, so you're not gonna have all these extra fees. For those of you in the states that are, that have licenses and permitting requirements. So I think Melissa Mott-Smith up in Portland, Oregon, you said you're a residential contractor. That's fantastic. And quite honestly, there's not enough of you in that area, but stair lifts in your state typically go for an extra $1,000 on top of what other markets go for, because they require a licensed elevator contractor to be able to do the installation, and that's both residential or commercial. And so it really makes it restrictive for clients to be able to get the products that they need, and they will have challenges finding, even after you have completed your evaluation, they will have challenges finding somebody to do the work for them at an affordable price, and somebody that can, take them the rest of the way and not just try to make a sale. And so, you guys being able to handhold and walk them through the whole process and know that there's an installation hub behind it is very powerful. And we're now delivering that to you, being able to help you, work with HMOTA and get that, solidified in your respective markets.
Do you mind if I just jump in real quick, Todd?
Go for it.
So the thought behind this was, Todd's going to go over how to do the evaluation as well. So when you work with your client, you can do the stairlift evaluation and then access Harmar through the Essential Luxuries portal. That way, you can just sort of pass it off to Essential Luxuries if that's what you want to do, instead of running it through your own company for insurance reasons or whatever that might be. So then Essential Luxuries and Harmar can send, give you the quote or send it directly to your client. And if they decide to go with it, then you get a commission off of that. So it makes it really simple for you. I just wanted to throw that in there just in case anybody wasn't sure exactly how that was going to work.
And one of the things that Harmar's done is we've taken some steps here to create, as you can see on the screen here, this is a customer capability and needs assessment form for a vehicle lift product. So, basically, with a form like this, you can essentially do the evaluation for a vehicle lift, and basically get this back in our hands, and we can basically do 95% of the work for you with just a little bit of information that you provide to us. So makes it very easy, and gives you the confidence that you don't have to have much more than this form in front of you. If you look at the Stairlift forms, jump back here. So here's a Stairlift product evaluation form. We ask some basic dimensions. There are some basic measurements, things that you likely already are either measuring or are comfortable measuring, such as the rise and run, the width of the staircase, from the top nose to the bottom nose, just getting some basic dimensions and things, identifying any, obstructions or, electrical outlets. These are some very basic questions, and probably within 5 minutes or less at a client's home, you can evaluate if a stairlift would be able to, even fit in their home. So, we have all these evaluation forms available on our website, and obviously Karen I'm assuming we'll get them on hers as well, so that we can, we can keep this nice and clean and easy. But, with about 5 to 10 minutes of your time to evaluate for a stairlift or a vehicle lift or whatever it may be, we can assist you in getting, numbers. We also have the ability with a pre-valuation form. So for those of you that are maybe not as comfortable and you would really appreciate, somebody with a little bit more experience to come out, there's some very basic questions that you can ask a client, such as, how many steps are on your staircase? Are they a straight run, or do they contain any turns? What's the width? Do you have an electrical outlet within 10 feet? I mean, there's some very basic questions that you could ask. And then what we would do in this case is we could actually deploy one of our installers to go out to the home and take all the measurements. And, if you had a very complicated one where they maybe needed a ramp system and you weren't comfortable evaluating for a ramp system, we would actually send somebody out to the home to do that evaluation for you. So we have all these different forms that are available to you, and basically from that standpoint, depending on your comfort level, whether you do it and provide the form to us, or you give us some basic information and we deploy our lift squad installers to complete the evaluation, we can handle it either way. I understand that everybody on the phone here has varying degrees of capability, so depending on your comfort level with your respective business, either you do it or we can help you get it done. The goal here is that you're basically hand-holding your client from start to finish, from the time they first engage you and your services to the end where you can actually be able to provide them a product and go all the way through installation is very favorable. I think the stairlift that we talk about the most, obviously Harmar has our Pinnacle product line. So being a little brief here, I'll just kind of walk you through it, but basically our flagship product is this one on the bottom. This is the SL600 Pinnacle. It's our, it's our premier line. It's a 350-pound model. The next one up the staircase, believe it or not, is a 600-pound Harmar stairlift. I will repeat that. It is a 600-pound weight capacity stairlift. This is a very large, very heavy-duty stairlift for the clients that we all see, and the seat is just very robust to be able to handle that large client. And then the one at the top of the rail there, that is our SL300. That's our newest product line entry into the marketplace, and it's basically it's geared for that low price point in the market, entry level, if you will. Some people call it contractor grade, so it meets all the minimum requirements for specifications. It just doesn't have a lot of the bells and whistles like our flagship product does. So here's the two side by side, so you can kind of see them. They're both obviously typical stair lifts in that functionality. So they have a footrest, they have armrests, they have a back. The shapes and sizes are really what's different. And then as you can see, the model on the right, the SL600, we have there's fault indicator lights, there's footrest adjustability, there's retractor belts, full back seats. There's a lot of additional features on this model versus the SL300, which is really built for that entry level price point. Most people in our industry, they're not excited to get a stairlift. They need one, whether they were injured or have a disease or a disability, whatever the case may be. A lot of people don't get too excited about going out and shopping ahead of time for a stairlift. So these products are typically there's something that the client needs or they found that they need to get to their second level, and they don't want to spend the money. So typically this is the challenge is we were forced to create a price point model in the marketplace so that we could address the client that had a little extra time to shop and the client that had no time to shop. And so both of these models side by side obviously have some upgraded features and really provide the different functionality for whatever your client's needs are. So let's get to some of the fun stuff. So when we talk about what is a typical MSRP, MSRP on the marketplace typically doesn't have installation and freight built into it. So Harmar, in its enterprise network, we put together, an installed MSRP. So let's just say $4,500, $4,600 here as an installed MSRP. And, the market price for stairlifts is typically 28 to 36. Remember, I told you Acorn was kind of a direct seller in the marketplace, and direct sellers, they have an average price around $3,400 in the marketplace. So what that means is that if you're able to offer your client a product somewhere in that $3,400 price range, you'll be competitive and consistent with the marketplace. And if you were able to sell at those numbers, with the arrangements that we have with HMOTA right now, you'd be able to potentially make an additional $500 to $700 of commission or profit per sale, if you will. We think that's fantastic. It's, most dealerships, they're constantly fighting other dealerships in the industry, and they're racing to see who can get to the client first with their marketing dollars. We believe you guys have a kind of a captured audience because the client came to you, they're trusting you, they've already allowed you in their homes to do an evaluation. So there's a trust factor that's built, and you being able to provide them some pricing that's fair, reasonable, and competitive in the marketplace, and still helps assist you guys financially. We think that's a win-win home run for everybody.
And
so
those prices are if their lift squad does the installation.
That is correct. These are fully installed and delivered, and they include a 1-year labor warranty in addition to the parts warranty. So what that means is that if your client has an issue in the first 90 or 120 days, all they have to do is basically advise, and we'll deploy somebody to go out, and Harmar is going to cover the cost of the repair and the labor to go out and send somebody out there. So you don't have to get involved. You don't have to worry about your client being left stranded. Our network is going to handle that for you because it was purchased through our enterprise program.
But if you're gonna, if you have your builder's license or have one of your builders, if you want to become an installer, can you talk about that, Todd?
Sure. So for those of you that that have the capability to do installations or have the capability to, or you have the proper licenses in your states and things, Harmar is always looking to add additional resources into our network. So you could be invited to be part of the lift squad. And so what happens at that point is at that time there could be, let's say, an installation for a veteran, and you could be called upon to do an installation of a stair lift or a vehicle lift, whatever you sign up for, and then you would be able to navigate and do the installation, provide the documents back to us, and then Harmar would be paying you directly for your installation work.
So I was wondering though, if you could go over how to evaluate for a stair lift, because I know a lot of the times I get involved with cases where they need the stair lift yesterday. And so I do the evaluation, and I send it out so we can get the pricing back so we can get it approved and get it in. And I don't know if everybody else is in that situation as much as I am, but it's hard to like send it out to one of the guys to come out and take a look at, because then they got to fit it in their schedule, especially if I'm right there. So I don't know, I know you have your pre-evaluation form. Would you be willing to go over your evaluation form? And also maybe the scenarios when you're going to need a retractable rail or a flip up rail?
Yep, no problem. So, the form that I have on the screen, this is for our Pinnacle. Basically, the top part of the form is just some basic information. Where's the actual address located? When you get down into the configuration piece of it, we just need to make sure that, is this going to be a straight rail or is it going to be a folding rail? So the condition that you would need a folding rail is if at the bottom of the staircase, you would have, a doorway or some obstruction or some pathway, so that, when the chair is not in use, that would not be an obstruction or a trip hazard. So there are codes for these products that basically, maintain that they have to be out of the way and charging. And so, having the ability to flip the rail out of the way to keep it, safe from a walkway would be very favorable. Once you determine if a folding rail is even needed, then you can kind of focus on the overall length. So this next section here, the track parts and options, this is really about the overall length. So our stair lifts come in 15 foot 6 inches, and depending on your typical staircase, that would handle anywhere between 14 to 16 steps. Typically we see, I think 16 steps is about the standard 2 sticks of rail shipped, and that handles the application. If you have 20 or more steps, what we would do in those cases is we would add midsection of rail. So that does add a little bit of cost, but it basically tells us what is the overall length dimension that we're dealing with. When you're measuring a staircase, there's very basic measurements you need. It's not that difficult. Obviously, as you can see, the rise and the tread. So the best way to do it is to take a 90-degree angle, and you can measure from the top of the tread to the top of the nose of the next tread. That's essentially the rise dimension. And then you can measure from the tip of the nose to the tip of the nose. That's going to be your tread dimension. So with those two items and overall number of steps, we can usually identify what the overall length is going to be. The width of the staircase is probably the most important. So, we want to make sure that we have, approximately 36 inches to work with. Although with Harmar's stair lift being so narrow, if your client is also of the smaller stature, we've been known to do staircases all the way down to 28 inches in width, which is pretty significant. But of course, a lot of that depends on your client. So the overall dimensions are, typically, just making sure that there's no, sometimes you have a doorway at the top. So a lot of people put stair lifts into the basement. And so what we do is, we measure from the tip of the nose at the bottom to the, tip of the nose at the top. And then what we do is we add 7 inches of overrun. That overrun is basically the recommendation for our top landing to make sure that the staircase can actually reach the top of the run, and then obviously pivot and turn so that the footrest is exactly level with that top step.
And then, like when I do stair lifts, I always send the guys pictures of what the top and the bottom of the landing looks like, as well as the stairs. So I step way back so they can get a view of the whole area, not just the small area at the bottom. Is that something you typically ask for, Todd?
Yeah, potentially. I'm going to say probably a good 80% of our dealerships, whenever they do measurements, they always take pictures. And Karen's right. You basically want to stand at the bottom of the staircase, try to take 3 or 4 steps backwards, so that from a picture we can assess any obstacles at the bottom and the top. We can see any turns and things. You know, obviously we're going to be asking you guys what's the distance to the nearest electrical outlet. You know, it is rare that you would have to install an electrical outlet. There are sometimes in some of the older homes where those things are necessary, and those can be quoted accordingly. But you know, for the most part, a picture says 1,000 words. So you know, at every single opportunity to take a picture and send it in with this evaluation form, that's immensely helpful, and it really just cuts out anything that you may have forgotten. You know, the picture speaks 1,000 words all the time.
And so also, like when you're taking pictures of the bottom landing or the top landing, I try to stand all the way across the room so it gets the room and the landing. The other thing is, do you want to tell them about how you decide if it's a right-hand lift or a left-hand lift?
So Harmar measures everything from the bottom of the staircase. So in the configuration section, you would want to know, you know, is it going to be installed on the left-hand side or the right-hand side? So if you're standing at the bottom of the staircase and you're looking up the stairs, is that stairlift going to be installed on the left-hand side or the right-hand side? And that's how you determine. Now, the good news is that the Pinnacle is a non-handed stairlift. So if you originally planned for it to be on the left and then you get there and the client says, no, I really want it on the right, the installer would literally just flip the rail and move it to the other side. It's a non-issue. However, when you have a folding rail option, that folding rail is in fact handed. It can be field reversible. It just takes a little bit longer in time, but there's really no negative thing about it. If you were wrong, you can undo it. But essentially, you know, standing at the bottom of the staircase looking up, you would identify left or right.
So Nancy says she's not sure about how to order tracks, parts, and options.
Yep. So it all basically comes down to how many steps. You know, I think the rule of thumb is, you know, 16 steps is going to be typical, and anything over 16 steps may in fact require additional track lengths to accommodate the extra rail. If you are able to provide us those pictures, we can easily assess that for you and tell you how much you would need, or which level of midsections and brackets you would need.
Yeah, typically, Nancy, I order these quite a lot, and I don't ever worry about what the parts are. I just tell them what I need, and I just expect them to know what to do with that. So I just give them all these measurements. I don't worry about what parts or anything like that. I want you to say that's the case, Todd. You guys just take care of it.
Yeah, if you're giving us that, you know, that overall A to B dimension, we're going to be able to tell you exactly, you know, how many midsections are necessary, if any are necessary at all. So, and I see a question here from Pam Evans. What do you do about split level homes? It's interesting because, you know, this enterprise system that we're talking about here, while it works great for straight stairlifts, it really can accommodate any of Harmar's product lines that we offer, including curved stairlifts. So whenever you do have a split level home, you have the option of putting 2 stairlifts that are straight, or you could potentially do 1 stairlift that's curved. I'm going to tell you, when it comes to a curved stairlift, it's a little bit more intricate, and we do require camera measurements. So in the cases of curved stairlifts and most every single vertical platform lift, what we recommend is that, you know, you identify that the need is there for those products, and you essentially notify us that your client has a need for these products, and we're going to go deploy somebody out in the marketplace to do that evaluation. It does add a little bit of time to the overall process, but those are typically custom products, and there's so much room for error. You know, none of us really want to delay any further. So what we do is we get our installers involved right away, and they go out to the home, and they'll take those measurements and with the camera system and things of that nature.
Question about moving away from stair lifts, but I've had a few situations where I've needed a platform lift. So I see you have those. What kind of things apply for that?
Yeah, so platform lifts come in all different shapes and sizes. I actually think the last count we had it was 84 different possible configurations of platform lifts. There's so much room for error and so much room for configuration challenges that we would prefer to get our lift squad network involved right from the get-go. So when you visit the home and you do your evaluation, when you determine that a straight stair lift isn't the right product for your client, and maybe we should evaluate, you know, for a ramp or a vertical platform lift, what I would like to see is, you know, you contact our enterprise team, and our enterprise team will deploy somebody out to that home to go take measurements for the vertical platform lift, or for, you know, the curved stair lift or an incline lift, whatever it may be. Those products are just more custom. They're obviously a lot more expensive, and there's just no room for error. You know, if you were to order a $25,000 curved stair lift and you had one measurement problem, it would haunt you forever. So we would want to make sure that it gets done right. And so whenever you identify that there's a need for those, we'll just handle those through our network to do the evaluations and then come back to us. So what that means is that our installers go out to the home, they take measurements, they send us the forms, and then I essentially quote those forms back through HMOTA, and then, you know, you can get all of your configurations through HMOTA, just like you would for a stair lift.
So, like, typically, we're a construction company, so we do a lot of these. So typically, we design the ramps. We'll send out pictures, what the rise is. We do the drawing of the house and the ramp itself, and we get that, and then they bid that out and send it back to us. That's not how you do that for, I mean, because ramps, I don't think ramps or the vertical platform lifts are that hard. But you don't trust people to do that in the field? I mean, unless the vertical platform lifts go between two different stories of the houses, but if it's below, I don't know, I know if it's below, what is it, 14 inches or 15 inches here in Michigan, you don't have to have a elevator license.
Yeah, I mean, you know, the risk is that, you know, do you have the right power? What's the codes for the state? Do you need battery backups? Do you need call sends? There's just a lot of pieces and parts that go along with those products that, you know, some of you may, you know, that are more familiar or have gone through some training or are comfortable doing it, you can certainly fill out the forms. The challenge is at that point, you know, if something's missed, it's very costly to add it after the fact versus getting it up front. So typically we like to see those things happen at the front of the sale so that we can assist to make sure everything is done correctly. But some of you may have those capabilities, and if you're comfortable quoting those products, we can provide the evaluation forms. A stair lift evaluation form is typically 1 page. A vertical platform lift is usually 6 to 8 pages. So it's just a lot more intense with, you know, features and things. And as I said, we provide that as a service, so we can certainly handle those for you. But if you're comfortable, you can do them too.
So if you do a vertical platform lift, what we typically do if we do one, say in a garage or something like that, we'll have we usually try not to go below 6 by 6 for a landing platform at the top by the door, and then we always do stairs off the platform at the top with a self-closing gate. So if you are going to do the vertical platform lift, who does the landing platform at the top?
So now that Harmar provides full ramp systems, we handle that as well.
And you typically do that in the aluminum?
Yes.
Thank you.
Yeah, Harmar calls it, it's our express deck. So an express deck can be sold in conjunction with a vertical platform lift, so that, you know, basically the product comes gate ready. It's got all the handrails. It has, you know, it has access for steps if required. It's full ADA compliant.
Nice. So it has access for steps. Do you have steps as well that can go off it?
Yes, steps and ADA handrails. Yes.
Nice.
Yeah, we've really focused on becoming that one-stop shop over the last 2-3 years, making sure that we have all the necessary pieces and products to satisfy those home evaluations. And, depending on, if you're going out to the home to evaluate for a stair lift, but you realize that your client can't transfer, well, then you can look at an incline lift or a vertical platform lift. If there's no room for an incline because of the width dimensions, at that point, then we would look at how can we construct or fit, a vertical platform lift into that client's home. And, sometimes that's easy, sometimes that's a little bit more complicated, but there's lots of things and ways to do it. And, that's where, somebody who has that experience is just going to be that further along with it.
Tiffany has a question. She's got a client with an outdoor concrete staircase, 6 steps up with bilateral iron handrails. She wants to know, can a stair lift be installed on that? The bottom of the stairs, is that a sidewalk? Is that a public sidewalk, Tiffany?
Yes, it's a public sidewalk.
What do you think?
Typically, it sounds like if it's a concrete stairway, that's not an issue. Obviously, we can drill through concrete, but the challenge is that if it is a public staircase, chances are that the city or local municipality wouldn't necessarily allow that without lots of sign-off forms and variances. So we typically, they are done, but there's usually a lot of paperwork and delay that goes with it because it's on state property or city property. So at that point, it becomes a commercial unit, even though it may be in a residential home, it becomes a commercial unit, and it falls into the commercial code. And so you have to pull permits. You typically have to have it inspected. It becomes a lot. It's a lot pricier in that arrangement, but certainly it typically can be done. But we can also look at, are there other opportunities for vertical platform lifts or ramps at that home location?
I don't have anything for air. I'm dead.
So
Anyone else have any questions?
I have one question. This is Louie in North Carolina.
Okay.
What do you do like for after the sale as far as if your client no longer needs the product? Sometimes people are going, why do I want to spend this much money for like a vertical platform lift when in 2-3 years I might not need it? Do you have any solution for that?
So unfortunately, Harmar has not implemented a buyback program or rental programs for that regard.
Okay.
Not yet. There are some dealerships throughout the country that do that, that would rent product. I'm going to tell you that if you can get 3 good years out of it, it's probably going to be cheaper to purchase the product than it would be to rent the product for a 3-year period. But the challenge here is at the end of the day, what are you going to do with it? And unfortunately, most people, what they do is they contact their local dealer and ask them if they would, want to come out and remove it and purchase it. Most dealerships do that. I will tell you the funding is not great on that. Dealerships don't typically take back product unless they have a need or they think they can sell it, to somebody else rather quickly. So unfortunately, most of those products that are out in the marketplace, that no longer serve their immediate or intended initial purpose, they usually kind of wander off or just, they just become unused.
Yeah. Okay. I appreciate knowing that because I've got a Harmar vertical platform lift and I don't need it now. So
yeah,
that's what
I would contact a local Harmar dealer, and see if they have any interest in purchasing it. Sometimes they do. And,
okay.
It depends on the condition. It depends on where it is. And, but if it's in relatively good condition and there's a need for it, that could be a hot commodity.
That's good information. I appreciate it.
Mm-hmm.
I'm wondering, do you have
smaller seats for the stair lifts, pediatric size seats?
Nancy, that's a great question, and unfortunately, we do not have smaller seats. Obviously, the three sizes. Bring that picture back here. So we have three sizes of seats. I believe the distance between the armrests, I want to say it's like 22 inches. As pretty standard. And then for the larger seat, for the 600-pound, it's obviously much wider. So, with that being said, some people get into, special harnesses, or, obviously we have the seatbelt retractor to kind of hold the client in place. But, unfortunately for a small child or a pediatric situation, there's, most people will just secure some type of additional harnessing. Because we can support the trunk, but not typically the torso areas.
Okay. So is that harnessing something that they do they come up with themselves then?
Yes.
Okay. And is the seat protected from incontinence issues, or is there anything to worry about with the electrical components?
Yeah, it's a great question. It's unfortunate that we even have to think about those things, but you're right. In our industry, we do. So all of the electronics, obviously go through, heavy testing. So all the connections are, somewhat protected. From your everyday incontinence accident, I don't foresee any issues, as long as somebody's not, when I used to live in Philadelphia, they called it the big gulp test. The old 7-Eleven big gulps. They used to pour it right on top of the PC boards and see what happens. And unfortunately, most products don't last through the big gulp test. But our electronics are pretty well contained inside the housing, so they are safe in that regard. So I think as long as there's not an immediate immersion, you're going to be okay.
Okay, thank you.
So we're going to have to wrap this up, Todd. This has been excellent. And if you wouldn't mind putting your email in the chat box, so if people want to get a hold of you. Oh, there we go. There are some really good things, questions still real quick. Rebecca asked if there's funding sources for the lifts besides private pay. Medicare is starting to pay for them, I believe. What are you seeing, Todd?
Yeah, obviously, the VA does fund these products pretty exclusively. Outside of the VA, there are very few. I mean, we do see some insurance companies that are starting to, maneuver this way or that way. Most of the time, we see voc rehab, independent living. We see like Medicare waiver programs. A lot of the state-funded agencies are typically helping offset the cost of these products.
Okay.
So the answer is yes, as there's all kinds of funding out there.
Okay.
It's not always easily noticeable and readily available, but there are many organizations out there that do offer funding for these. And I would start with the big ones initially, but a lot of the local markets do offer small programs to help offset some of those expenses.
And that would be the OT kind of reaching out to those organizations or advocating for the patients, correct?
That is correct.
Okay. Thank you.
So, obviously there's lots of questions still, and I don't think Karen or Adam and I ever expected everyone on this call to be an immediate expert. But we certainly wanted to introduce the opportunity. Now you have the ability to complete the loop, taking your client all the way from the evaluation all the way through product installation, and doing that through HMOTA and its connections with the manufacturer. So we felt that was a big positive thing for you. I do have the enterprise at harmar.com. So what I would ask is that you obviously identify yourself and the name of your company, and that you're working with HMOTA. And then what my team will do is they'll proceed to basically provide information back to you, maybe what's needed, or if there's anything in those areas that you specifically need to know. We'll be there to help you, answer those questions. And then obviously, Karen and her teams will be able to, quickly process paperwork and make sure that's all clean and easy. So I'm sure this won't be the last time we talk, but certainly wanted to at least open the dialogue and let you know that we're excited to work with you guys. We feel that our strong branded product in the marketplace and our backing of the Veterans Administration kind of creates a nice solid platform for you to kind of take the ball and run with it in your respective markets. And we look forward to working with each of you. And
hey Todd, real quick, I'm gonna give you a link so you can sign up for our forum. And then what I'd like to do is just have it set up so people can ask you questions there, so you don't have the same people, different people asking you the same questions, and we can all learn from the questions each other has. So I'll send that to you today, probably after we get off the line. The other thing I want to show people before we go, here's the Essential Luxuries website. We're going to have all the products online within the next week or so. Let's see if I can get it in the middle of the screen. Just 1 second. A different computer today. So here's the Essential Luxuries website. When you go up here to products catalog under mobility, there's lifts for homes. And then you can scroll down. We've only got the straight stair lifts on so far. So you can go to the straight stair lifts. Here's a couple choices. And then, people can, if you send your client here, they can take a look at these and then just add them to the cart and pay for them straight through Essential Luxuries, or you can do it through your business, whatever you choose. There will be the evaluation forms that you can download straight from Essential Luxuries, then send that over, and we'll send that to Harmar, and then after that, the dialogue will be between you and Harmar. But everything just goes through this site so they know who they're dealing with. Does anybody have any questions on that?
And what is Essential Luxuries in connection with?
Essential Luxuries is the HMOTA site, as far as, because everything is as far as buying products.
Got it. Okay, great.
Well, the insurance is different at everything. So
Right.
HMOTA's not set up for selling products, but Essential Luxuries is.
Got it. Great.
Aaron, in previous things with Essential Luxuries, then you get a percentage and whatever. I assume you don't get that with this because this is separate through Harmar, right?
This is at least 20%, if not more, for these stair lifts, because they're about, like, for a straight stair lift, Todd and I were figuring out, and the commission's about $700. The stair lift itself, let's see. Stair lift itself, oh, so that's about 20%. Yeah. So yeah, it's 20% and pretty much everything.
So, but we're getting that back from Harmar, not from Essential Luxuries. Is that correct?
It'll be paid through, I don't know, we have to figure that out. We haven't talked about that yet. Okay. It'll probably come through Essential Luxuries. Mm-hmm. But yeah, we'll have to talk about that.
Yeah, Harmar would be transacting through Essential Luxuries, and then as you made we'll support the installation of it, but your transaction financially is through Essential Luxuries.
Okay, because Karen, I think you have us through Essential Luxuries fill something out about any conflict of interest being an OT and all that. I believe that there was some kind of form or something.
There was. Plus, we also send everyone the ethics statement on selling products from AOTA, because it's so important that, everything is above board and ethical. I mean, that's just vital to all of us.
Where do you get that? I'm just wondering, some people who are just doing this for the first time might want to just see what that is.
If you go on, I believe I found it on the AOTA website.
Yeah.
I can resend it out.
Yeah, that would be great.
Download it.
It's a part of this, I think, for people to figure the whole thing out for themselves.
I wholeheartedly agree.
And Karen, how do we log, how do we get to be part of Essential Luxuries?
You should have gotten something, and I can resend out the links, but when you signed on for HMOTA, it sent out a link asking you if you wanted to participate. But what we'll do is we'll resend out the links for participating in Essential Luxuries, along with the other paperwork we sent out from AOTA, which was about the ethical considerations and that sort of thing.
Sounds good.
Yeah, because I mean, and then again, Todd's going to be on the HMOTA.org website, so that way, if you have questions, ask him there so that we can all learn together. I mean, if you want to email him too, but if you could do it so that it's something that we could all learn from, that would be wonderful. So thank you, Todd, so much for coming tonight and working with us and setting this up. I think everyone's quite excited about it.
Yeah, my pleasure. I'm looking forward to future opportunities.